This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, Beau Cook from Loan Market, BTZD, the official apparel partner of the Paracave Podcast, and the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another cracking episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is interview-style podcast day, and it is an interview with a former player of rugby league. And gee, this guy, he played for New South Wales, he played for Australia, he also played for Manly, Warringah Sea Eagles, started off at the South Sydney Rabbitohs, also played at the North Queensland Cowboys as well, and also had a stint over in England at Wigan as well. He's one of the toughest players to play rugby league, pulled off some of the biggest hits in the game. And of course, I'm talking about Mr. Ian Roberts. Now, he, as I said, played for those clubs, and we talk about playing in those clubs, playing for those clubs, being born in England and moving to Australia, those early days at South Sydney, and playing against the Kangaroos over there in England for Wigan in 1986. We also talk about state of origin career, his Australian career with a great story about Bob Fulton as well. Superleague as well. He was around at that time in the Superleague war and what was happening during that time. Playing the tough era of rugby league and knowing now what we know then, and also a bit about his post-football career as well. So we talk about his acting as well in TV and movies, also his appearance on Dancing with the Stars, which I think he got a little bit of a laugh about, and also he's also a director of Qtopia in Sydney. So for those of you who don't know what that is, we talk about that and what is involved in that and what he is doing there as well. Of course, also the common league questions, the quick top 10 and the set of 6 personality questions, all in this week's episode of the Paracave Podcast. All brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty. We also have Beau Cook from Loan Market, the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, and also BTZD Teamwear, the official apparel sponsor of the Paracave Podcast. More details about the sponsors and the Paracave Podcast merchandise after the chat with Ian, but that's enough of me talking. You want to hear the interview with Mr. Ian Roberts, so that's enough of me talking, and as Hindy says,
get a beer, coffee, whatever you want.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy, and let's get straight into it.
G'day everyone, my name's Ian Roberts. Just going to have a quick chat with Troy on the Paracave Podcast. I hope I come across all right. I'm not the sharpest. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm no bowling ball.
And as you heard from his intro, my guest today on the Paracave Podcast is a former rugby league player, professional rugby league player for South, Manly and the North Queensland Cowboys, playing 194 games, 14 tests for Australia, 11 games for New South Wales in both State of Origin and the Superleague competition as well, 5 games for New South Wales City, and also one of the toughest players I've ever seen play the game, and a few other players have said that as well. Welcome to the Para Cave podcast, Mr. Ian Roberts.
Nice to be here, Troy. Thank you for the invitation, mate.
Not a problem. Now, born in England and as a family moving over to the South Sydney area in New South Wales, Australia, what was growing up like for yourself? What were some of the things that you enjoyed doing as a kid?
Mate, I was one of the original 10-pound Poms. My mum and dad moved over from the UK with 3 kids in tow, all under the age of 5, with about 30 pounds in their pocket. Mate, we came from I grew up in a very working class family. My mum and dad are both very working class when they were in England as well. We lived in basically housing commission. I did up into my very late teens, early 20s, mate. So school wasn't, unfortunately, school wasn't a priority. Education, which I'm really I'm big on education now, mate. Education. I think that's our greatest means, our greatest sword and shield for a progressive community, I think. But yeah, when I was growing up, school was really just a substitute babysitter while my mum and dad went to work. My brother and I both played footy. My sisters played sport as well, and that was just to get us out of the house. A very different time back then too, mate. Very different time.
Yeah, definitely. Now, did you find rugby league, or did rugby league find you?
It was just kind of that's what boys did back then. Everyone just played footy. It was in footy or union or whatever. But next door neighbours when I was 4 or 5. Were playing from, it was Maroubra Lions. I just went along with them, ended up playing for the Maroubra Lions and then Maroubra Diggers for 5 or 6 years, all in the South Sydney juniors. Then I ended up at Mascot. It was just what kids did. And like I said, my sisters played mostly netball. I was also part of the tadpoles, the nippers. That was all. It was just kind of a standard set procedure that most kids and that did. I grew up on and around. I went to Maroubra Bay from kindergarten to high school, or Maroubra Bay School. So I kind of grew up on the beach. I surfed a lot as well. I was pretty atypical for my generation, I suppose.
Was South Sydney the team that you followed in the competition back then?
Kind of weird. My mum and dad were big South fans, and we used to go along to the old Redfern Oval. Yeah. I used to slide down the back there on the old cardboard. Remember the old slope at the back of the Redfern Oval? All the kids used to get on the cardboard boxes. That was. But I grew up in that era. We used to sit behind it was the Southern Post, sit right behind the post. That was our little spot. It was kind of just a routine thing. We'd go along, whatever day they were playing, the Friday night, the Saturday or Sunday. It was mostly game days through them. And that's when they had 3 grades as well, mate, young 23. So used to go there for the whole day.
Yeah, wow.
We used to, that was quite the trip from South Coogee, where we used to live in the housing commission, to Redfern Oval, but it was just part of the routine, like the weekly winter routine.
Yeah. Who were some of your favourite players back in the day growing up? Watch play.
Kind of weird. When I got to my early teens and maybe 10, 11, 12. I used to barrack for Manly. I don't know why I was barrack for Manly, but even though we used to go to South games and all the time, I was a Manly supporter. Blokes like Bozo and obviously Bobby Fulton, Graham Eadie, Terry Randall were kind of some of my favourites. But from the South era, you Sats. There's so many legends in that team. Sats, Bobby McCarthy, Lurch, George Piggott. Sadie. There's so many incredible players in that era for South. But yeah, I was more a man. Like it's funny. I became more of a Manly supporter, not for any other reason. I have no idea why I switched over.
That would have been fun times in the household then. South and Manly being arch rivals.
I always say the best thing that ever happened to Manly was the Broncos coming into the competition, because everyone used to hate Manly. Like the Broncos coming in, it almost took the pressure off Manly. So everyone from Sydney switched from hating Manly to hating the Broncos.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Now,
the Silvertails, mate. The Silvertails. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. The Silvertails and the Western Suburbs Magpies, the Fibros.
Yeah, very good.
Good times. Now, was it just a case of playing in the South Juniors competition that you eventually signed with South Sydney and made your first grade debut there?
Yeah, that's all it was, mate. I just worked my way through the ranks. I got graded right at the end of '85. I played about 3 or 4 games in under 23s, and I played 3 or 4 in the reserve grade. And that was the end of the season because I'd been graded right at the end of the year. And then I started '86, and that's when George Piggins first took over as coach, and Gus Gould was playing in the team. Yep. Gus kind of basically did coach the side, even though George was there as the official coach. It was one of those situations. I think I would have been 20, I suppose. I felt right out of place in that pack. The likes of like Dave Boyle, Mario Fennick, Les Davis, and you had these incredibly awesome front rowers. They're almost terrifying to pack down with, let alone against.
Yeah, well, speaking about that, during those days, it was the Manly pack, the Bulldogs pack, the Tigers pack, South Sydney's pack as well. Who did you find was the toughest pack to play against in the 80s and early 90s?
It's kind of weird, mate. I was 20 when I came into grade, and when you're 20, mate, I don't think I really. Personally, I don't think I really gained my own self-confidence and my own sense of self until my mid-20s when I was playing at Manly. I always felt intimidated. I always felt like I wasn't good enough to be there, particularly in when I first got graded in '86. And the first game we played was the Charity Shield against St George, and I had to pack down against. I hadn't played first grade before, but I had to pack down against Craig Young. Remember Craig Young?
Yeah.
He to me was just like a god in front rows. I was almost like in awe packing down against him. And I think that's sometimes a younger, and that's what experience counts for. Sometimes younger people, they just get overwhelmed by the situation. I didn't think I deserved to be out there. I'll never forget. We used to have this. This is back in the day. And I'm glad the game's been cleaned up and tidied up. But this is back in the day when the occasional all-in was quite a regular thing. But we used to have a call, Craig Coleman Tugger. It was a call called Henry. And Henry meant, we were packing in for a scrum, Henry meant that it was an all-in. I was like 20 years old, and I'm packed down against Craig Young.
Yeah. And
Craig walks through the middle of it with a scrum. He said, "Oh, Henry's on." I'm like, no, you can't. No, there's no way. Anyway, and he broke out. I just never Craig Young grabbed me by the scruff of the neck. He nearly put his fist through the back of the head, and I was just happy to take the dive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was back in the day. That was a very different time, mate. And I'm glad all that stuff's been phased out. The game really does. The game has come on in leaps and bounds. But that was kind of when I started, and that's what I meant. That's what I mean by your maturity and that, experience. And that does. I don't think I really found my feet until my mid-20s when I was at Manly. Yeah.
Was it also too then an overwhelming experience playing against the Kangaroos in '86 when you were playing for Wigan?
Yeah, mate. It was one of those. I had I got to say, I'm going to sound like a bit of a big head. I actually had one of the best games of my life against Wigan.
Okay.
I had it was one of those rare moments. Everything, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes things seem to slow down and you're just like, I did have I had an incredible game against Wigan. It was quite intimidating playing against the Kangaroos. I think we got beat 26-18, but in fairness, it was one of those games we could have gone any way. Like we got off to a really bad start. They jumped out to I think about 3 tries. They scored about 3 tries in the first 10 minutes or something. But we came back and it wasn't so much intimidating. It was kind of weird because after that, Bob Riley, was it Bob? Not Bob. Malcolm, the English coach. What's his name?
Malcolm Riley.
Malcolm Riley. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. He because I'm English born, I was asked to play for England. It's one of those, and it's one of those decisions. Because I was over there actually on a British passport. Back then, you can only have a couple of 3 imports at any one club overseas. But I didn't count as an import because I had a British passport.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it is one of those decisions I do kind of not regret, but I do wish I'd actually played for England because I would have still been eligible to play for Australia.
Okay.
But as a 21-year-old, I just thought playing for Australia was the be-all and end-all. And it is, but I do wish I'd taken that opportunity to play for England when I had the chance. And the whole thing in Wigan, mate, the Wigan was so good for me personally and my style of game. Graham Lowe was there, was a new coach. It really freed me up as a ball player. That's probably a bad choice of words for a gay man saying that.
I know what you meant, but
you'll have to edit that bit out, mate.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Oh my God, I'm sure it really helped me with my offloading skills. Sorry, man. I'm trying to recover from that, mate.
That's okay. That's all good.
But yeah, no, it was really good for me personally. I kind of. I would say that's where I first felt like I had something to contribute to the game, and I felt like I could change a game. Potentially I could change a game.
Now, 1989, South are minor premiers, and they bow out of the competition when many thought they were one of the favourites to win it. The next year you signed with Manly. Was it both disappointing to leave South and exciting to join Manly, the club that you followed as a kid?
No, mate. Like a lot of people. I mean, I think that was one of the best decisions I made for my career. Like I'd done. How can I put this? I don't want to start. I'm not going to be critical of anyone. I had a great time at South, but my time there was done. I mean, I don't know how to explain this. There were some internal situations happening. It wasn't just about the money, and Graham Lowe also went to Manly. That was his first year at Manly, and I'd had such a good relationship with him at Wigan. Yeah. We'd stayed in touch. I mean, we're still good friends now. I saw Larry last week. He was over here. Like, we're still best of friends now. We're actually hopefully we'll be working on a literacy program in and around corrective services, around jails. He does that over in NZ, and hopefully I'll be working with him on a literacy and numeracy program, education program for development. But I think that was. I think for me at that time I had to leave. I needed to leave South because it wasn't just about the football. There was other stuff going on that. I wasn't 100% comfortable with. I was also, mate, don't forget, that's also the time in 89, 90 when I went to Manly. It was probably the worst kept secret in rugby league that I was gay, right? I was a gay guy, and that was there was issues around that at South as well that I was. But I'm not standing here bagging it or criticising everyone. I loved my time at South, mate. Yeah. It was time for me to leave. People, there was other stuff happening in my life that I had to
needed
deal
a
with.
fresh change and
Yeah, when I first left South, my intention was when I went to Manly that I was going to come out publicly. But I don't know if you know this, but there's a guy by the name of Justin Fashanu who used to play in the Premier League over in England, soccer.
Okay. Yeah.
And Justin came out in 1990 as a gay man, playing First Division, Premier League, and the English press and the supporters brutalised him, mate. He was, and when I went to Manly in 1990, I thought I was going to come out then, but back then, mate, that was a time when there was no mobile phones and that. And if you wanted to follow a story, you really had to read it in the newspapers, follow it on TV or on the radio.
Yeah.
And with all the gay press, and that story was quite a. There was a lot of content. He was brutalised by the English press and supporters. I just felt like, oh shit, I didn't know if I was ready for that.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
But that was one of the other reasons I went to Manly as well. That was going to be my time to just to speak honestly and truthfully about my situation. As it was, it took a couple of. But even when I got to Manly, mate, everyone knew I was gay. It was one of those. My then partner Shane, he was the guy, the mascot, the guy in the big Sea Eagles, like the big beak and the big, doing cartwheels and back. That was my partner Shane. That was, you know what I mean? Everyone knew Shane and I were together, but it was almost like this code of silence that no one wanted to breach the elephant. No one wanted to talk about the elephant in the room. It was great, mate. It was the best thing for me personally.
During that time, was it tough for yourself on the field in that situation during that time, or?
Not so much tough on the field, mate. I kind of particularly the early 90s, 91, 92 is when I really found my way on the field. My sense of, kind of what I was good at. And the thing that was kind of debilitating for me and really used to get me down was, stuff like, my parents used to go to all the games and all that. Like the stuff that was said at me from supporters and that, I'm okay. I was always okay with that, mate. It didn't really bother. I used to hear it on the field all the time.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all the slurs. But I used to worry. I used to worry about my family and my friends who used to have to hear it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? It was used to. You can't protect everyone. You know what I mean? You like it, and I did feel like, that was difficult. Like, there was a couple of but I don't hold any grudges or anything like that. That's just, it was of its time, you know what I mean? Those sorts of slurs and that, even though, they weren't a positive, it's in no way positive, that was kind of its time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as you said, you sort of made your mark when you signed with Manly, and 1990 saw you both play State of Origin and also for Australia as well. We'll start off with State of Origin. You played in a pretty dominant era for New South Wales in the early 90s. What was your favourite part about playing State of Origin?
The amazing thing about Origin is, I've found, was just how quick the game is. And when I say quick, I don't just mean, pardon me, I don't just mean the pace of the game, but how quick the actual time goes. Like, you run out and they kick off, and then it feels like 10 minutes has passed and the referee's blowing for half time. But it was kind of that. Things just seem to happen so quickly. I don't know. And you're right. I think we won it in 90. We lost it in 91. I don't think I played 92. I played 93 and 94, which we won both those series. And then I played in that tri-series when the Superleague thing happened. It's kind of weird. Origin is like, I don't think people realise how important the original Origin game back in 1980 was. 1980, the first one, 1980.
Yeah, 1980. Yeah.
I don't think people realise how important that game was. I mean, and what I mean by that, I often say that game was almost because it set such a benchmark. I always think if New South Wales had won that first game, that would have set the tone for the rest of the because Queensland came out and just bashed the shit out of New South Wales and really dominated. It set the bar of what this. It was almost like the most important game of rugby league ever played. For what it's contributed and what it's the Origin series now owes everything to that first game. It is such an incredible Sorry, mate. What was your question? I get carried away.
Well, what was your favourite memory of playing State of Origin football?
It's always silly things like running out the initial wow factor when you run out and you just think, and you're in the middle of the field before kick off, and it's just that atmosphere. You do kind of literally feel like a bit of a gladiator, thrown into the lions. You know what I mean? It is. Very much and it's also very surreal. It always feels like, it feels like almost like a dream state, which is, but that's. I mean, I think that's why. That's why when they retire and they get the first couple of years after you retire from footy, regardless of what level you played at. It's a big adjustment to make. I don't want to demean this, but just getting back into a normal lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difficult transition, isn't it?
It's a huge transition, and when you played at those levels as well, it does become quite addictive, mate. It does, and it's I understand the level of the reason there are so many mental health issues and that for ex-players and that. It is quite an adjustment. I mean, this is probably sounding a bit, but I mean, there aren't many professions where you peak at 30. You know what I mean? And that's sometimes how it feels when you're a sports player.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just oh shit! Now what now?
Yeah.
After you played in those Origin and grand finals, or you played for your country, everything just seems a bit for a while a bit dull.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of my favourite Origin games is Game 2, 1991, where MG was on a seek and destroy mission against Queensland.
I know that I was there, mate. I know exactly.
What do you remember about that half-time section of the game where it all went crazy?
I mean, you got two incredible competitors there, with MG and Wally, right? Come on, they wouldn't get. You're not going to get an inch out of any of those two. None of them were going. No one was going to back down. The intensity, but that's what I mean about that first Origin game. It's that's what makes the Origin spectacle such a crowd favourite. It almost feels like remember what was his name? The ex-caller,
Darryl Eastlake.
Begin. What was his?
Darryl Eastlake.
Darryl Eastlake. Yeah, remember that? Let the war begin.
Yeah.
But it really, that kind of encapsulates Origin, right? And that moment you're talking about, encapsulates that moment. Again, you got those other photos of players head pulled into each other head to head,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Did you think MG was going to clock Wally or?
Well, I mean, when it's like that, mate, everything becomes so elevated. It's just anything can happen. It really is throwing gasoline onto a fire. You know what I mean? It has that potential to really explode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah, I think he's glad too that he didn't as well, because it wouldn't have had the same meaning today as it did then, sort of thing. People have all different thoughts about what it could have been and something like that.
just a really good moment. You know, like it's a standout. It's just one of those wonderful moments you think to. You just think, fuck, that's Origin. You know, that's Origin footy is all about. No one backs down.
That's it. Well, also, you started playing for Australia as well at this stage of your career, and no doubt a massive honour playing for Australia. Is scoring 2 tries against France at Parramatta Stadium one of the favourite memories of playing for Australia?
God, you know what? I'd forgotten all about that. You just said that.
Yeah. Two tries against France at Parramatta Stadium.
I do remember. Funny you say that. Yeah, no, you're right, because I never got to score many tries, but I do remember the second half of that game thinking, God, I've got to score a hat trick. I've got to score a hat trick. How do I get over for a hat trick? And about 3 or 4 times, I was the last pass to the next player to score a try. I was like, oh, should I do this? Should I go myself? Should I go? Like, I do remember that, like, oh, you've got to do a hat trick. Yeah. Oh, my God.
You should have not passed it.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, yeah.
But also the 94 Kangaroo Tour, was that, obviously that would have been a goal of yours at the start of 94 to make that tour.
Yeah, I missed the tour in '86, and apparently it was between me and Ciro. I found out it was between me and Ciro going in '86.
Okay.
Two rookies a year, and in the '90s series, I did McGraw in the semi-final against Brisbane.
Okay.
And so I missed that as well. Yeah.
So yeah, the '94 was the last Kangaroo Tour as we know it. It was also Mal Meninga's last Kangaroo Tour. Were you concerned about your position after losing the first test?
No, I haven't. No, mate. I actually, I wasn't, because I'd actually played okay. I had a really good game. Leading up to that, even leading up to the test match, I had my form as a front row. I was probably the leading front row on the tour at that stage. And my game in the first, I actually played okay in that. My form was okay. I'm not criticising anyone else either. But to play at Wembley and then to get beat by 12 men, it's and I also think that was the first time Australia had lost in about 3 tours, because the other 2 tours were the 1990 they weren't beaten. The '86 were the Invincibles.
Yeah.
So that was the first time an Australian team had lost in about 8 years over there. But we didn't play well then. I mean, we came out the next 2 test matches and we put it to bed. We did smack the bums grasses in the next 2. But yeah, they played out of their skin, and they played out of their skin.
That's it. Is there a favourite Kangaroo Tour story that you can remember? What stands out?
I do, but it's not really about the football. So I mean, it's more about my situation and about being a gay guy. It's this. Now, to tell you this story, I need to give you a few caveats and let you know. When you're on tour, players' wives and girlfriends aren't allowed to stay with them in the hotel because the playing unit has to stay together. By all means, they're allowed to come in and have a meal or see their partners, but they're not allowed to stay. They're not allowed to stay overnight. That's just a golden rule, right? And I still wasn't out at this time, even though everyone on the tour knew I was gay. My partner Shane was over. A lot of the other players' wives and girlfriends did come over to watch the tour, but they were staying at other hotels.
Yeah.
Right. Shane was staying at a B&B down the road. That's my then partner, the guy who used to dress in the mascot in the Sea Eagles suit. Anyway, and Bozo and I had never spoken about my sexuality. Right.
Okay.
This is leadership. This is what is real leadership. And this was probably I reckon this is the toughest conversation that man has ever had. But I'll never forget, it was after the first test, and it was a couple of days after, and Bozo rings a room, and Terry Hill's in my room. He's my roommate. Terry answers the phone, and he hands the phone to me. He says, "It's Bo's, mate." And then listen, you got to know you only get a phone call off those if you're getting dropped or sent home, right?
Yeah, okay.
And I'm thinking, oh shit! I didn't think I was going to get dropped because I played okay. I played quite good in that first test, and my form leading up to that was good. And I'm like, so I pick up the phone. He says, "Robbo, you need to come up and see me, mate." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm on my way, Bose." And I said to Terry, "He's going to cut me, mate. He's going to drop me for whatever reason." Of course, Bose is staying up at the penthouse, so I get the
lift all the way up to the top.
I get the lift up there, and I get out and I walk to I go to his room, and the door's just ajar. It's open by about 6 inches, So I just have a little look in, and he's there pacing the room like slowly up. And this is not Bose. Like Bose doesn't do.
Yeah.
He's pacing the room up and down, and he's mumbling something to himself. I feel like I watched him for 5 minutes. It was probably only about 30 seconds, and I'm thinking, oh shit. So I knock on the door, and he says, "Robbo, come in, mate. Come in. Sit down. Sit on the bed." And I sat down, and he stands in front of me, and he starts pacing the room again. And after I felt like an eternity, but after 30 seconds or so, I said, "Bose, mate, just tell me what's happened." And because I'm now thinking something big has happened, like there's been a death at home.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm now thinking, shit, this is quite serious. And he stops in front of me and he says, "Right, Robbo, you know I don't mind, eh, mate?" And I'm like, "What?" He says, "You know I don't care, mate." I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about, Bose." He says, "Shane, mate. Shane." I'm like, "What about Shane?" He said, "Mate, Shane can't stay with you in the hotel." And I said, "Bose, he's not, mate. He's staying at a B&B up the road." And he says, "What?" He says, "So they've got that wrong. Someone's told me that he's staying." I said, "No, mate, he's staying at a B&B." And he goes, "Oh, mate, not a problem. Oh, that's all I needed to hear, Robbo. Oh, mate." He was like, "Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, that's all good, Robbo. Oh, no." I'm going to tell you, mate, that is the most difficult conversation that man's ever had, right? And it was just one of those moments. It's the first time in my rugby league life that I felt validated, mate. But I felt like, yeah, he actually he took the bull by the horns. He like the elephant in the room. He's just, and as I left, I just turned around. And I just said to him, "Thank you very much for that conversation, Bose. You don't know how much that meant, mate." And he's just like, "Robbo, it's all good, mate. Yeah, it's not a." And then we kissed and that, but no, it's all right. No, you get what I'm saying?
Like, yeah. No,
it's like, all good, Robbo. No worries, mate. It was one of those moments you think, oh, that's what leadership is. It's like it's about being prepared to have those awkward conversations or those. Yeah, it was. I mean, that is my fondest memory of league, mate. That conversation I had with. Like I said, mate, that is the most awkward conversation he's ever had in his life. I knew that straight away. But the fact that he went there.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, great story for sure. The year after, 95, Superleague starts to poke its head around. Was that a difficult time for yourself as you were with ARL Aligned Club, Manly?
Mate, it wasn't really difficult for me. I mean, I actually, when that, because when we came back for the Kangaroo Tour, that's when it all blew up.
Yeah.
And I was quite prepared I was willing and I was ready and willing to sign for the ARL, the then ARL. I went into head office at Phillip Street, and there was, there must have been, I don't know, it felt like there must have been about 20 people before me. And I was there for most of the day. Anyway, so I literally just got fed up with waiting. And I wasn't bitter. I just like, I've got other things to do.
That's right, yeah.
So I used to live at Redfern, and I walked home from Phillip Street. I walked through Hyde Park, and as I'm walking down through Surrey Hills and that area, I literally walked by News Limited at Holt Street, the old where the News Limited offices are. And as I was walking by there, I just said, I'll pop up there now and see if there's someone I can talk to, just to see what all this is about, because I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, true.
So I went into News Limited. I spoke to, and up in the office was John Rebo, and he had this young bloke sitting in the room with him. I didn't know who it was. It was Lachlan Murdoch.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was the boss's son. They just started telling me what they were doing, and it was kind of like, it kind of blew me away a bit. They weren't like aggressive. Like it wasn't an aggressive sell. And I went back the next day. We spoke some figures, and I spoke the figures I thought, and they were like, "No, mate, you're worth more than that."
Okay. Yeah.
They almost doubled the figures I had. I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's pretty hard to say no to." I guess,
For sure.
and then, yeah, mate, I just signed. I mean, yes, Manly were an ARL aligned club, and the reason I didn't play for Manly in '96 is because. After we made the grand final in '95, we got beaten by Canterbury, but they didn't. There was a World Cup happening, and the ARL wouldn't pick any Superleague aligned players, and that was like it was a breach of contract. That's why I didn't play the next year. That's why I didn't play in '96. I didn't think that was the right thing to do. I think Gordon Tallis was also another one who sat the year out for that same reason.
Yeah.
As it's turned out, it's been great. It's been great for players. It's been great for the game. It's actually been a good thing for the game. You know, and I mean that's a long time coming. I know that's 20 years ago. More than that, 25 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any other clubs other than the Cowboys that were interested in yourself? Or
yeah, originally I signed with the Adelaide team. Were they Adelaide Rams?
The Rams, Yep.
But what happened? Can't really remember what happened. Oh, actually, something in my personal life happened. I ended up signing with Townsville. But I loved it, Townsville, man. I went up to Townsville in '97. I mean, I was openly gay then, and then they made me like the club captain. That's quite revolutionary. Like that on a world stage, like an openly gay man in a professional sporting code as the captain is like. Yeah, I do believe the ARL, NRL, Super League, whatever, all that. They really had an opportunity to be really progressive in and around that inclusion and diversity space when all this was happening. Unfortunately, particularly the NRL. Lately, I think they've gone backwards, mate. I think Todd Greenberg was great. Like, particularly in 2017, they had the Macklemore grand final singing.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, our conversation diverses, mate. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Happy to talk about anything. You played during a tough era of rugby league, and yourself played the game hard. We didn't know then what we know now about CTE. Is that a concern for yourself moving forward now?
And I've been involved in a whole load of different programs and research programs about that. I quite literally only a month ago had some testing done, CAT scans and that, I had a couple of episodes when I was living in the States. I lived in the States for about 7 years. I've been back here now for about 8 years.
Yep.
I had a couple of episodes in the States, which kind of prompted me to come. I mean, I had to come back. My father was ill, but I did come back, had some testing done, and I don't know. I mean, I do a whole load of cognitive stuff and brain training, whatever they call it. And I don't know if it's a placebo effect or whatever, but I always do feel like I'm in a better situation now than I was 10 years ago. Okay. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if that's a placebo effect. Maybe I'm just, but I don't really care. Like I do. The episodes I had over in the US were really concerning. They were quite terrifying. But I've had no reoccurrence of anything like that. Yes, mate. I think the reason we're more aware of these things now is because the science is out there. Like the science is there now. It's like and people are and ex-players are speaking up now.
Yeah,
it used to be. I feel like there's been this almost like players feel like they're getting tarred with a brush, so like in a negative way about. Head knocks and the adverse effects, long-term effects and consequences that they're quite possible. I think the more all the sporting codes contact sporting codes, the more they do in and around this space, absolutely limiting and making it a safer sport, it needs to happen. Like, there's too much science now, and I think it was really incredibly brave what Mario Fenech did.
Yeah.
When he did the program about his situation. I love Mario.
Yeah.
Love Mario. I think it was really brave. We need to. Him and his wife Rebecca, they're taking ownership of his situation and trying to help others. We need to be able to have these conversations. People shouldn't. It should be done respectfully. We should be able to do this without people feeling like they're somehow open for criticism because they're being honest. I do really believe, mate, that the more we can talk about these things, and we just saw with Roy Simmons and that.
Yeah,
and all that, so
Simo,
it's
Ray
wonderful.
Price.
Ray Price. There's what I mean. I do believe the more that people are that there's no shame in this.
No.
Is probably what I'm saying. And I do feel like in the past there has been this sense of shame that's been kind of overwhelming for a lot of ex-players.
Yeah, for sure. We wish Royce, Mario and Ray all the best in their challenges that are ahead. Now, post-football, you've done a bit of acting in movies and TV shows, and one of my favourites was the role that you played in Underbelly, being George Freeman's bodyguard.
Oh, yeah. That was a real character.
Yeah, that was a great series.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the real character's name. I was actually liaised. Oh God, what's his name? I can't make the name slips from me. Did you ever see Did you see the series Mr. In Between?
I haven't. It's on my list.
I just want to let people. I'm not just saying this because I was in it. Can I tell you, it is the most underrated Australian. It is the best. If you like Underbelly and that time of dark, that dark Australian humour. Yeah, Underbelly.
Check that one out.
Oh yeah, it is such a well-written show. It is such an incredible show. It's so dark. It's so that dry Australian humour. It did huge business in the US, but it just never peaked here. Underbelly, Mr. In Between. I just finished shooting. A few months back. The next instalment for the Mad Max universe, Furiosa. So yeah, that was exciting too. We were out in Broken Hill.
Oh yeah, where the originals were filmed.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think Mad Max 2 is one of my favourites out of those series.
Did you like Fury Road, the last one?
It was different to the older ones, the 80s ones.
I love Fury Road. The storytelling was great, and George Miller is an incredible man to work with. I can understand why he's so successful. He just, again, leadership. He utilises. He says himself the reason he's been successful is because of the people he works with. He listens to the people around him. From the catering service to the electricians to the actors on set, he listens to everyone's suggestions, and if they move the story forward, he's willing to change. He's willing to change a scene there and then if it moves the scene forward in a better way. He's such an exceptional man.
And one of the other things that you also did too, you're a runner-up to Tommy Williams in Dancing with the Stars in season 2.
You had to rub that in, didn't you?
Sorry, mate.
Always the bridesmaid, mate.
Oh, just like Parramatta.
But it wasn't fair, mate. He got to take off all his clothes, but the girls loved him. I'm like, he couldn't. Yeah,
you were a pretty fit athlete yourself, mate. So
I was,
maybe that's what you should have done as well.
Yeah, that was quite a wonderful time. That whole process. I mean, it was 10 weeks of filming, and there was 6 weeks prior to we did training in that before episode 1. So we, for ballroom dancing. I will say, for anyone who's been in had a creative side, like within the arts. I didn't realise until about week 7 or 8, and that's after. So this is now week 13 for me because the 6 weeks before that.
Yeah.
Till about 7 or 8 of the show, what dancing was about. And the artistry in it. It was almost a bit like, because it was almost like acting. Sometimes when you're on stage or in front of a camera, sometimes something just drops in, and you kind of realise you had this overwhelming sense of, I understand this now. I get it. I get what this is about. And the whole thing with dancing, it wasn't until about week 6 or 7, because before that I was shit. I was
so you were out of your comfort zone before then,
I had three left feet. I didn't have two. But I mean, it wasn't until about week 6 or 7, kind of things landed for me, and I was actually okay. And Natalie Lowe, the girl I was with, who was just an absolute rock star, superstar, and she was so patient. She had to be patient with me, mate. She was fantastic. That was such a wonderful experience for me. I mean, that's such a long time ago as well. Wow.
Yeah. Also, now you're a director of Qtopia in Sydney. What does that involve for the listeners that might not know? And what is it about?
Well, Qtopia is definitely taking up all the oxygen in my life at the moment. So we're creating a cultural centre of history around queer life. Now, the reason I didn't say museum, most people would have used me a museum. We're not an archive, so museums have archives.
Yeah.
But it will be it's the old Darlinghurst police station at Taylor Square. We're opening on the 23rd of February next year. I've been involved with this now for nearly 4 years, but it's very it's a place of education. I mean, like I said before, I'm really about education.
Yeah.
Education. We'll be running curricular-linked programs out of here for school, like for primary schools and that, as right through to corporate. The actual premises will have exhibits around the history of queer life in Sydney, right from First Nations right through to colonisation to equality, inequality, and legality and illegality, like all that type of thing. There'll be plenty of, but the exhibitions will be very subversive, a lot of AI stuff. It has to be a real experience for people. It has to be like to have a place like this now. You do really need to have a wow factor.
Yep.
Like people to walk in and just say, "Oh my God, that is so much more than what I thought it was going to be." It's going to be very submersive, like very engaging, technically as well, digitally, and obviously we'll be touching on stuff that have affected the queer community, like all those things I just said, but education, the HIV situation, First Nations, like I said, legality, illegality, whole process, from cross-dressing right through to trans. It has to be wonderful, informative, but we want people to leave here thinking, "Oh my God, that was almost like a theatre show."
Yeah, wow. We wish you all the best for that one, the future foundations and all the foundations in place, and wish you all the best for the future in that one. Time for some common league questions. You mentioned the Wigan game before, but is there the Wigan versus Kangaroos game? Is there another favourite game that you played during your career? One that you thought, wow, I just loved that game?
It's funny enough, it's probably when I played for Australia. We played against Wigan.
Okay. Yeah.
The other when I was on the opposing side, that was like to go back to Central Park and play in front of that crowd again. And Wigan were really sticking it to us in that game as well. Like that. That was another game. It was to play at Wembley also.
Yep.
In that game we lost was absolutely. Also, sounds terrible because I'm talking about mostly games. I'm talking about games we mostly lost. The grand final, we got beaten by Canterbury. I do remember. I mean, I've never been able to watch it since. I've tried to watch it. Probably.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Like I've never. It turns my stomach. It just makes me so uncomfortable. I do remember for a game it's had such an impact on me. Like I literally can't watch it. I mean, I have tried a number of times to watch it. But I do remember that year. I think we played Canterbury about 4 or 5 weeks out from the end of the regular season, and we absolutely the worst thing that could have happened to us. We actually flogged them. We flogged them by about 40 points.
Yeah.
Like that was if I still think today if we hadn't. If we been beaten in that game, like we just won, it would have been a much closer result in the grand final. I just feel like we went into the grand final feeling like we were going to win by 40 points again.
Okay, yeah.
And like test matches and that type of thing, Origin games. There's so many games.
Yeah.
I do think back to that Wigan game, but when I was playing for Wigan, that was close. Yeah. And because I was so young as well, I think.
Yeah, for sure. On the big stage, is there, other than your home grounds that you played at, was there a favourite ground that you loved playing at? I mean, you mentioned Wembley there. Is there any others in Australia that you loved to play at?
Oh, I mean, you can't go by the SCG, mate. It's an unbelievable field to play on, and because it's a cricket ground, and the crowd does feel like it's quite a distance away from you.
Yeah.
But because it's such a cauldron, and there's all this echoing of all this roar, like this cheering and roaring. It is quite a unique place to stand out in the middle of the cricket ground, like getting ready to kick off.
Did you get to play there many times?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget. There was one situation where when I was playing for South, it was '87, and we were playing. It was the Anzac Day game. We were playing Canterbury at the cricket ground, South, and it was a beautiful day. The sun was like beautiful blue sky, and I'll never forget. Remember David Gillespie?
Yep.
We used to call him Cement. I played with David at Manly, but this is when he was playing for Canterbury and I was playing for the South.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget. I mean, I only know this because I've watched the game. Like, I don't remember this, but I've only know because I've seen the game on video, VHS. Well, I took the ball up and Cement hit me from my blind side. Like, he nearly cut me in half, right? Like, like he used to wipe people out.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll never feel like the thing that I started. Well, anyway, all I remember is kind of coming to, and I was laying on my back, looking up, and our trainer, what was his name? Merv. Our trainer come in and started slapping me on the face with the sponge and that, and he sat me up. And as I said to him, "Oh, isn't it a beautiful day, Merv?" I felt like I was on Bondi Beach.
Under the sun.
I said, "Oh, what a beautiful day." And then I started talking to her. Apparently, I started talking to her something about sunflowers, and but I had to go off. But I do remember it was just one of those days.
Yeah, okay.
Like courtesy of Cement. I used to call him Cement because he used to hit like a cement truck.
Yeah, that's it. Well, actually, speaking of hardest hitters in the game and tough players, you yourself were known as a tough player and one of the hardest hitters in the game. I think there's one tackle against Michael Potter, I think it was. That was a classic when you play for Manly. That was massive. But
they had a campaign of that photo, didn't they? Like Puma had a campaign for one of their boots called Puma King. It should be called Puma Queen, but
yeah, but they that one stands out for sure. You mentioned David Gillespie there. Who else do you think was the hardest hitter in the game at the time?
It's not so much hard hitters. Blokes I think were like just made of granite, just tough. Blokes like Jeff Tooby, mate. I mean, Jeff Tooby's a halfback who had cauliflower ears. You know what I mean? Like, that's a pretty rare thing. But he was like, he gave 150%, mate. Like, he played so above his weight. Those types of players I was always kind of in awe of. Like, Sean Edwards, when I was playing for Wigan, he's another, like, they punch above their weight. I mean, they really, obviously blokes like Les Davison, Bundy, Spud, like there was so many like hard Blocker was just like crazed at times, like but I used to always be well impressed by the small the small stature blokes who just get in there and keep going. I'm just like, they used to amaze me.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Is there a player that in today's game that, if given the opportunity for some miraculous reason, that you'd get the opportunity to play with? Would there be a player today?
Yeah, I think different generations. Like it's the game now is much more scientific. And it's played in like quite literally centimeters. I think the game's, and I'm not saying it's a better game. Well, I actually think it's a better game to watch now because it's so much quicker.
Okay.
But like, and when I say scientific, it's a lot more scientific. I'm not just talking about the training in that, even though the training now is very specific, like for different players. But just with the simple things, like even what the ball's made of. You can hold the balls now in one hand, and you can, like at full reach, you can wave it around in the air, like holding onto it, and all those incredible the spectacular stuff that wingers that are doing in the air over the sidelines and around the goalpost, and all that stuff is because of the science and technology. We used to play with those old leather balls.
Leather ones,
it was like carrying around like a cement block.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think the game. I don't know, mate. There are so many incredibly gifted players, but I also think the game's changed to a point. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to know. I don't know. Like I used to like the potential of like at a scrum. Scrums now. You've got your offensive and defensive. Both teams set up for that now because 99% of the time they're never going to win a ball against the head. I mean, I've seen in the last few years, I've seen it happen once where the hooker struck out and won a ball against the head. But so it's the game not much now is very offensive, defensive, structured. I mean, there isn't a chance. Like when I was playing, like there was a chance you lose lose those scrums, and so it wasn't all. You couldn't set up for totally for defence.
Yeah.
Or offensive. I'd like to see that. I kind of miss the one-on-one stuff as well, but that's again, safety has to be first, and it has to be the most important thing. So, mate, to answer your question, I can't really answer the questions. I think different generations, different players, but I also think any generation from any player would succeed in any other generation too, because they would have had the training and the advances, and yeah.
That's it. Well, before we get into the set of 6 personality questions, we'll do the quick top 10, where it's just a simple yes or no or an opinion. We'll start off with cats or dogs.
You know what? I've got 2 cats, but I grew up with dogs.
Yeah.
I live in a unit. I think cats get a bad rap. My 2 cats are my best friends, mate. I mean, but I love dogs as well. I mean, we get a dog. I don't know. So I'm going to say cats.
Okay, yeah, no, fair enough. Ford or Holden?
Oh shit! I would say Holden.
Yeah. Pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
Oh, no.
No. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Rambo or Rocky?
Rocky.
Peanut butter or Vegemite?
Peanut butter.
Morning or night person?
Ooh, that's tough. I used to be a night person. I'd say now I'm more of a morning person than I am night person.
No, fair enough. Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Pepsi.
Seinfeld or Friends?
Oh, Seinfeld. So that's a no-brainer, that one.
Yeah, definitely great show. Well, we'll wrap things up with the set of 6 personality questions. Is there a favourite sport outside of rugby league that you enjoy watching?
I'm going to sound like a bit of a squarehead. I do actually like tennis.
Okay.
Watching tennis.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a sport that I will watch on TV. There's not many sports that apart from rugby league, that I watch, and the Premier League as well, the soccer.
Yeah, nice. What's your favourite holiday destination?
Oh, that's, you know what? because I do a lot of scuba. I just went for. I was just recently in. I'm a scuba diver, right? Like I've been diving for like 40 years. I just recently went on a dive in Fiji. I went to Fiji for work, but and I did a dive over there. I think it's BEQU or BEQA. I don't know how to spell it, but it was a shark dive. It was like the most incredible thing I think I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. Wow.
So when I say shark dive, as soon as we got in the water, there must have been 30 or 40 big sharks and bull sharks and there was a huge tiger shark in the water. But they feed them all the time.
Okay.
So I'd say anywhere you can scuba dive.
Yeah, nice. Who would be the most famous person you'd love to meet, dead or alive?
Oh wow, that's a tricky one. Dead or alive? God.
Oh, we'll stick with alive then. That one might be a little bit easier.
Yeah. I think that's still tough. Someone I'd really like to meet.
And have a chat with and maybe a cup of coffee with.
Yeah, that's God, that is such a tricky. Oh yeah, okay. It'd be a scientist or something like It's like I'm trying to think of. It'd be a science like quantum. Someone who's into quantum physics and that type of thing, and
just pick their brain.
Yeah. I don't have one. It's a problem.
Which three former players wouldn't you want to be stuck on a deserted island with, and why?
Oh, yeah. You potentially get me in trouble here, mate.
Well, it's time to give some people up, if you want to.
Alfie would chew your ear off. Love Alf.
Yeah.
Matthew Ridge would he'd drive you crazy talking about himself all the time. And Desi, he's just too dry. Desi just doesn't talk about it. Desi just doesn't talk. He's not interesting.
Okay, fair enough. Something that the Gold Coast Titans will find out next year for sure then.
He's actually a champion, mate. He's yeah. I'm just ribbing him there. He'll know that.
What's your specialty dish in the kitchen or on the barbecue?
I'm a terrible cook, mate. I haven't offended anyone. Like, I've been a vegetarian for a long time. I'm big on curries, mate, only because they're there's a lot of flavour in those. But I'm not a meat eater, mate. So
yep. Don't worry, I'm not a good cook either, mate. So all the wife does all the cooking mostly in this place. Who's your favourite musician or band to listen to?
There's probably two. I grew up during my early single digits and teenage years, loving ELO.
Oh yeah, yeah, Electric Light Orchestra. Yeah.
Then I got into my mod phase, probably Depeche Mode.
Nice. Well, Ian Roberts, thank you very much for joining me today on the Para Cave podcast. I watched your career as a kid growing up, play the game and representing New South Wales and Australia, and as I said before, one of the hardest players to play the game. And I really enjoyed the chat today, and hopefully one day I'll catch up and say good day. And thank you very much for coming on the Para Cave podcast today.
My pleasure, Troy. You take care, mate. And best to all the listeners, mate. All the best.
How you going, mate? Are you a Para Cave podcast listener?
I am, bro. Okay. It's a great podcast. Everyone tune in.
Go Para. Well, welcome back, and thanks for listening to Ian Roberts and his rugby league and life story. Look, I really enjoyed the chat with Ian. He's quite frank about his career. Some great stories there. I could have spoken for longer. I appreciate Ian and his time that he gave me with the chat. The interview will be available on YouTube as well as a video chat as well. So if you'd like to check that one out, just search the Parrot Cave podcast on YouTube and please subscribe. But otherwise, it will be out on where you're listening to it now, on Apple and Spotify. And please, if you can, share it with your family and friends as well, because it's a very interesting story. I really enjoyed it, and as I said in the chat, hopefully one day I can catch up with Ian and say good day and have a chat as well. All brought to you by the major sponsor, Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club. Drop into the club shop today and get yours from the club shop, and also keep an eye on socials for what's happening at Parramatta Leagues Club each and every week. Beau Cook from Loan Market, his contact number is 0401 213 236. You can get in contact with him for a free chat and see how he and his team can help you get on top of your home loan and find you that best deal. Also, BTZD Teamwear, the official apparel sponsor of the Parrot Cave podcast. You can find them at btzd.com.au and check out their range of team sportswear, and they might be able to help do something for yourself. Just let them know that you found out about them on the Parrot Cave podcast. Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty. Get in contact with Shannon on 0421 588 445, and if you want that 5-star service from a 5-star real estate agent, then Shannon is your man at Glenmore Park Realty, servicing the areas of Glenmore Park and also the Penrith LGA areas. So give these businesses a follow on social media, and also support these businesses that support the podcast, that help bring you quality entertainment each and every week. Now to the Parrot Cave podcast merchandise. As I said last time, I still have 2 Parrot Cave podcasts shirts, polo shirts, available for only $25 each. Now there is, I think, 2 large and 1 extra large shirt left in this first batch, so you can order that by heading to the email address. Just drop me an email at www.theparrotcavepodcast@yahoo.com, or just simply send me a message on the social media channels and I'll get back to you and we'll organise to get that one out to you as well. Also, the Parrot Cave podcast hats as well that you'll see in the YouTube videos, just available for the reasonable price of $10, perfect for that morning walks or afternoon mowing the lawn, whatever. Perfect for that. It's got the exciting new podcast logo on it. So again, if you'd like to order one of those, just get in contact with me via the social media channels or send the email as well. $10 plus postage and handling. And don't forget, if you do get one, to post it on social media as well of you wearing a hat or your polo shirt. That the support would be much, much appreciated. Now, you can also catch me on Pulse FM on a Friday and Sunday. So coming up over this weekend, we will be talking about the grand final, obviously, and also hopefully in the coming weeks in the off-season from the NRL, talking about the international games coming up as well later this year. You can also find out about local Parramatta news as well from the Parramatta Times at www.parramattatimes.com.au. Also, just send me a message on social media if you're enjoying the podcast and what you're enjoying the best part about it and what you would like to see on the podcast each and every week. Any feedback is much, much appreciated. Have a great week as best you can. Look, enjoy the grand final on Sunday. To the Penrith Panthers and Brisbane Broncos, congratulations on making the grand final. To their fans, look, good luck. Enjoy the week and the weekend and the game as best you can. I was there last year, obviously supporting the Parramatta Eels. It is a great week. Soak it up as best you can and enjoy it. And if you're at the game, I hope your team wins. It is a great feeling, no doubt, if your team gets up and wins. So something unfortunately Parramatta didn't do last year, but who knows? Brisbane might be able to stop the juggernaut that is the Penrith Panthers. So good luck to both sets of fans. Enjoy grand final. Even those fans of rugby league, enjoy the grand final. If you're going to watch it, I will be watching it. I may even be there. So as I love rugby league, so it'll be a great game. Best of luck to both clubs, and may the best team win. But to sign off the show, and as I always say, the Para Cave podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Para Cave podcast. See you next time.